Hello and welcome to another episode of The Savvy Entrepreneur meets Energize Colorado. Today we'll be discussing what does it mean to go digital with Keith Roberts. Now, Keith is an expert at all things online and digital. Now, Keith will be able to tell you a lot better than I can. Keith, why don't you give us a little bit of your background?
Yeah, thanks, Tallis. My name is Keith Roberts. I founded an agency called Zenman 24 years ago, and we have been doing websites since the aspect ratio was 640 by 480, pre-Google AdWords, all of these things, and have seen it evolve over the last 2.5 decades.
You're the perfect person to speak with about this topic.
I hope so. Thank you.
So Keith, there's a lot of businesses that are struggling today because of COVID and other reasons. What recommendations do you have for a business that's considering going digital?
Well, I make the leap. I mean, this is, it's not the 90s where people aren't making money online. In fact, it's quite the opposite. The first place people are going to look for anything, it could be a new dentist or it could be somebody to mow your lawn, is going to be a digital resource. When's the last time you picked up the white pages? Actually, when's the last time the white pages were delivered to your house? Think about that, right? Things have changed dramatically. So the first place people look is on the web. So having some sort of digital presence is essential for any business, from mowing a lawn to a new startup.
Absolutely agree. I've spoken to a lot of businesses, and oftentimes they're inundated in daily tasks.
Mhm.
So why is it important for them to prioritize digitalization over what they do on their daily?
Well, I mean, right off the bat, it's finding new customers. And then secondly, it's engaging with your current customers. There's an amazing opportunity to get continued business, which is exponentially easier than finding new customers. And then the follow up, you still need new customers to grow your business and to replace the churn of average customer cycles. So being present, being first of mind when people are finding you, being not only online, but also ideally on the first page of Google. I think you've probably heard the joke, where's the best place to hide a dead body? The second page of a Google organic search result. So doing the really simple things to make sure that you are visible. You wouldn't have a restaurant and have no sign on the front of the building and make it like this cool speakeasy club that you can't find. If you are wanting people to just be walking by and finding your business. So visibility, number one.
Absolutely agree. Now, going digital is a very broad term. Let's look at a couple different scenarios where a business can really benefit from going digital.
Okay, let's start with the first thing, is a website. So we've got to have some basic web presence. Even if it's just a single page website, and there's some amazing tools out there from the hosting providers that have their own drag and drop editors, or I'm a big fan of Squarespace, Wix. You can do a lot of pretty unique things in those tools, and they're also pretty intuitive. You could learn a lot from some YouTube videos. And what I would always say is, look at what are your competitors doing and what's working for them and what's not doing. R&D, rip off and duplicate. What is the number one person? If you're opening a noodle bar in Denver, Google best noodle bar in San Francisco, best noodle bar in Chicago, best noodle bar in London. What are those people doing? And R&D. One of my favorite books is Great Artists Steal. Now, that being said, don't take their logo, remove the name, and put your exact same name, in the same typeface as that logo. You need to use it as inspiration and not plagiarize.
Great advice. So let's look at a scenario. Let's say there's a restaurant that's considering going digital. What tools would you recommend they consider?
A restaurant is a good example because all of you need a website, but there's some other things like social platforms that are really beneficial depending on the industry. So for a restaurant, they need a website, they need a decent Facebook page, and most of all, they need an active Instagram page. So those are the things that they need to do. Now you can incrementally start. I know a ton of restaurants that only have a Facebook page. The problem with that is, converting reservations. One of the big sucks of revenue from restaurants is the cost of making reservations through Open Table. So there's some other alternatives like Resi. I'm not saying OpenTable is not a good tool. There's huge benefits of somebody, booking a table. You've got a administrative assistant that's looking to book a dinner in Telluride for her boss that's there for a workshop. Being able to pull up OpenTable, look on reviews, all of those things are great. But it costs over $1 a reservation. So little subtle things like having a button on your site to make a reservation through OpenTable, that actually reduces the cost to a quarter. So there's significant savings in just understanding those best practices based around the nuances of your industry.
Great example. What about if you were running a service industry, like if you were an accountant or a bookkeeper?
Mm. So they're twofold. A lot of those particular industries are going to get a high percentage of their business through referrals. But that being said, if you told me, hey, Keith, my CPAs are great, I really recommend that you use them, what's the first action that I'm going to take once I get the name of your CPA? I am going to type it into the Google search machine and I am going to look at their website. And even if you tell me they're great, if their website looks like, it was the 1986 IBM, I'm probably not going to go with them. You lose confidence. So for somebody like that, just having what we would call like a solid business card or marketing website, here's what we do. It's clear to understand our unique selling proposition. And, for that, some testimonials. I want to see a quote from you as to how they took your taxes, that your last CPA had, a hornet's nest or a rat's nest and untangled it and saved you X dollars, right? That's going to get me to take my business there. So any service industry, testimonials, and then clearly stating what you do. So many businesses, when you go to their website, you scroll around, you look and you're like, I don't know what this company does, right? Make it very, very easy. Remove as much friction as possible and realize that when people come to your website, they're in different stages of a buyer's journey. It might be that I'm just awareness of, hey, my taxes are a mess. I really need to find a CPA. Or they might be in the decision-making process where they're looking at what are the exact services that you offer and what's it going to cost me. So understand the different places that people are going to be entering your digital presence so that you can guide them through that buyer's journey and pull them along rather than push them into converting with you.
Great insight. Now, what if you're a manufacturer? I recently found out that there's a whole lot of thousands of manufacturers, small manufacturers here in Colorado. Now, they may be doing business direct to consumer, or they may be doing B2B business. How would one of those types of businesses benefit from an online presence?
The exact same scenario. If I don't know you exist, I might be leaving Colorado. I might even be leaving the United States. So the great thing about the internet is it has these geolocation services. So if I search for, widget X and there's somebody in Commerce City that makes it, that's just naturally going to show up closer for me. So I have the opportunity to work with local businesses. So, taking advantage of the location services within search engines, your mobile devices, your computers, your tablets, that's going to help you stay local. And then again, going back to that confidence, right? You tell me widget X is the best maker of this, door wedge, and I go to their website, or worst case scenario, they don't have a website. Funny story, when I started my business 20 years ago, it wasn't that everybody had a website. And when we first started, I did a ton of work with builders, urban infill projects, urban ventures, different projects around town. And when I was looking for business, it was a hungry startup, I would find developers that didn't have a website. I would call them and ask for a link to their website. And when they told me they didn't have it, I'd be like, oh, I'm not interested, and hang up. I would do that a couple times, and then I would call them back and just try to, I don't want to say that was malicious, but definitely try to increase their sense of awareness of how important the need of a website was. And it actually did work a few times. Now, I wouldn't recommend that in the future. This was, the Wild West 20 years ago, but yeah.
No, it makes absolute sense. I mean, you're showing them the value of that particular product that they may have not noticed before. So let's say there's a new business that is viewing this and they're interested in going digital. What would be the first thing that you'd recommend they consider?
Hmm. There's three things if you're going to go digital. First, do you have a decent brand? And brand is not just your logo, but you have to have your logo in place, right? Don't start two steps ahead. So get that foundation in place. Also, you need to understand your differentiators, what's your unique selling proposition, and who is this website for? Who is your target audience, and really define those customer personas. It's pretty simple to do. Persona is, who is this person? How old are they? What sex are they? What do they read? What do they do? There's a ton of different simple fields that you could fill out, and then target it specifically to those personas. Start building something that's going to appeal to that audience. You can start very basic. MVP is one of my favorite acronyms, minimum viable product, right? If you are opening a new restaurant, putting your logo up with opening soon and this date is great. Do not put under construction. Don't ever put under construction on your website. The shoemaker's son has no shoes. I hate that saying, right? You have to do your best work. If I'm going to go to the dentist and you've got like 1890, London teeth, I am not going to trust you to work on my mouth, right? So lead by example. You have to put your best foot forward.
Great, Keith, and thanks for that. For any of you out there who are looking for more resources, please visit this link for Energize Colorado's guide to helping businesses go digital.